Howdy and welcome to my guide on street managers. The way this will be shown is there will be a title card with info about the manager like this, then I will go in depth about the battle itself. If you have any further questions about street managers that weren't answered in this video, feel free to put them in the comments and I'll try to answer them. They will be talked about in playground progression order. Just as a disclaimer, every single street manager has lure resistance in some form, and unless it is abnormal in some case, then I will not be bringing it up. To kick things off, we have the street manager of Toontown Central, Buck Ruffler the Duck Shuffler. Buck only has one cheat called Wager Management. When he uses Wager Management, he rolls the slot machine in his head, giving him one of 5 outcomes. Bust, which does nothing, Bar, which causes a gold bar to crush all combatants, Cherries, which gives 20 jelly beans to every toon, Sevens, which heals all cogs and toons for 7 HP, and Ducks, which does 4 damage to all toons and turns them into ducks for the rest of the fight. In my experience, the most common ones are Bar, then Bust, then Sevens, and finally Cherries and Ducks both seem to be very rare. Of note is that Bar does more damage to cogs than the toons, and it does 1 more damage to cogs than Sevens heal them for. As the very first manager you're likely to fight in the entire game, even before Derek Mann, this fight is very easy and you don't really need a particular strategy. Simply make sure at least one person has tune-up, hit him a lot, and try to prevent damage from extra cogs. If you do want to speedrun this fight, try Squirt or Throw and 3 sandbags 2 turns in a row. As for his drops, he drops a money bag backpack, which is pretty neat to flex on your friends with, and a sticker of him giving off a mischievous grin, probably because he's about to go blow all of his funding on slots. And on to the Barnacle Boatyard board bot, Mariana the Deep Diver. While she technically has 4 cheats, 2 of them are tied to one another, and the other one isn't given a name. The one without a name I will just call Double Water Cooler because it allows her Water Cooler attack to attack 2 toons at once. They both roll accuracy individually and do 7 damage. Her main cheat and namesake is Dive. This allows the Deep Diver to dive quote-unquote underwater and hide. If there are any cogs alive, she will promote the one next to her to a 7 executive and won't come back above water until that cog is defeated. If she is alone, the diver will come on land automatically after 1 turn. While he's in dive, he can't be targeted by anything except trap. This lets you pre-trap for when he comes back above water, which can be handy. She will use dive every turn she is able, except for after you defeat a promoted executive cog, then she will stay above land for 1 extra turn. The 2 cheats I mentioned that are attached to dive are called Drowning, which makes every toon take 5 damage every turn she is underwater, and Sink or Swim, which is a 7 damage AoE attack that happens every time she comes back above water. For the best results fighting the Deep Diver, do as much damage as you can for the few turns you have her above water. It's best to kill the remaining cogs so she's alone on the turn she uses dive, then she'll come back above water after just 1 turn. An alternate and also viable strategy would be to leave a cog alive, lure it on the turn she dives, and kill it with Throw the next turn so she stays above water longer. It is worth knowing that she cannot promote a cog on any turn she's underwater except for the one she uses dive on, meaning if a cog joins the battle while she's already underwater, it will not get promoted. Keep that in mind and she'll be swimming with the fishes in no time. As for her drops, she's one of 2 managers in the game to drop shoes, which have a cool little anglerfish on them, and her sticker is of her going, "Huh?" Onto the second and final board bot manager, surprisingly, is Holy Grail, the Gatekeeper. It's pretty weird they didn't make more board bot managers thinking about it. Holly is the only manager in the game with no active cheats at all. All of her cheats passively affect the battle. She also only has 2, although one of them has 2 different functions. Her first and simpler cheat is Reinforced, which grants any allied cogs in battle 50 additional max hit points upon joining. This synergizes nicely with her other cheat, Frontline. Frontline has 2 effects, one if the Gatekeeper is alone, and one if she isn't. Let's go over the one that happens when she's alone first. When the Gatekeeper is the only cog in battle, she takes 30% less damage and attacks 3 times in a turn. Additionally, all of her attacks do slightly less damage. Here's a table showing their values if you care about that. This means that she can do a theoretical maximum of 45 damage to a single toon in 1 turn if she uses 3 fired attacks on the same toon, or 36 to every toon in 1 turn if she uses 3 quake attacks. In general, if she is alone, wait for another cog to join. When she's no longer alone, pummel her. This is the most prominent case of the strategy is just hitting her a lot out of any manager in the entire game, in my opinion. Cogs will die naturally as you hit her, and even if they unlure because of deflection damage, you can just tune up and keep hitting her because you out-damage and out-heal her, unless she's alone. So don't let her be alone. For her drops, we have an armored chest plate, pants, and skirt, a shield backpack, armored greaves, and a sticker of her going, "Keep it to yourself." The only manager at the moment who drops any shirts or pants. Just as a warning, the next 2 managers will be quite short-winded because they do not have a lot going on. That being said, the Daffodil Garden Street manager is our favorite Brit, Benjamin Biggs the Bellringer. He only has 1 cheat, which is Healing Bell. He uses it every single turn, causes him to heal himself and allied cogs for a certain amount based on the amount of cogs in the fight. 238 on himself if he's alone, 295 on 2 cogs, including himself, 190 HP on 3 cogs, and 95 HP on himself, then 28 on allied cogs for 4 cogs. The strategy for Bellringer is extremely simple. 1 person sounds, and the other 3 people hit Benjamin. Use either single lure and throw, or squirt and drop, and 1 person can tune up as necessary. This is to avoid overcharge from the cogs, because if they're at maximum overheal, Benjamin will heal himself for the full 295 as if he was alone. Keep that up long enough and the bell will toll for him in no time. As for drops, he gives a sticker of him looking annoyed and a cowbell backpack. It's pretty cute, if only cow tunes were in the game. To Mezzo Melody Land, it's everyone's favorite granny, Belle Dama the Mouthpiece. I just want to say I really love her character and design. Belle only has 2 cheats, a whopping double of the total from the last manager. Her first one is Wire Cut, which causes any toon she hits with an attack to have their gag effectiveness reduced by this amount, depending on how many toons are in the fight. But it should only ever be 75% because I don't know why you'd fight her without all 4 toons. This only lasts 1 turn. Her second cheat is double Rolodex. Much like double water cooler from Diver, it allows her to attack 2 targets at once with Rolodex. She will also automatically use this at the end of the turn if any cogs are attacked. This does not include Lure, so if you need to, use Lure and 3 tune-up to stall so she attacks less. She may also use Rolodex as her turn's normal attack, meaning it's possible for all 4 tunes to be affected by wire cut at once. Here's some things you can do depending on how many tunes are wire cut. If nobody is wire cut, lay into Mouthpiece with as much damage as possible. If 1 to 2 tunes are wire cut, a non-cut tune should use Hypno Goggles and then the other 3 attack. A non-cut tune can tune up if it's necessary. This works because Lure's knockback and combo damage is based on the Lure user and not the individual throw's gag effectiveness. If 3 tunes are wire cut, the non-cut tune should Lure and the other 3 tunes should all throw on Mouthpiece. Alternatively, if everyone is low, 1 cut tune may group Lure if other cogs are unlured, and the rest should tune up. This will prevent her second Rolodex attack that turn since no cogs were damaged. If 4 tunes are wire cut, group Lure and 3 tune up. This fight is quite simple, and once you get it down, her head'll be ringing for sure. And as for her loot drops, she drops a personal favorite of mine, her sticker, perfect for when you're annoyed at someone. And the exact opposite of the sticker, one of my least favorite drops in the game, her glasses. They just don't look good on anyone except herself personally. Granny knows her own fashion sense, I suppose. And next up is the Timid Temperer, Flint Bonfire, the Firestarter. Melting the ice, I suppose. Flint is a simple but riveting fight where everyone's life can be on the line in a matter of seconds. Starting with his first cheat, Backburner, at the end of every turn, Flint will light up allied cogs in the fight. This makes them deal and take more damage, gain tripled HP, take a percentage of their max HP and damage every turn, and being less affected by negative effects such as Lure. All of these stack except for the tripled HP, meaning if he uses it multiple times on the same cog, the effects would be increased drastically. Backburner starts at 20% increased dealt/taken damage, 2 less rounds on negative effects, and 10% of max HP every turn, and can increase up to 50% more damage, 5 less rounds on negative effects, and 25% of their max HP every turn. This causes cogs other than Flint to die on their own, so you can focus on hitting Flint. On top of that, since Lure isn't that good against fired up cogs, you can just use $50 bills on Flint for throw if you want to. Squirt and 3 boulders are also pretty good against him. His second cheat is Pyromaniac. He gains 5 damage to all attacks and cheats, and 8% damage resistance every time he is alone at the end of a turn or when 2 cogs affected by Backburner die. Don't let the fight go on for too long because this stacks up to a whopping 25 extra damage and 40% damage resistance. His final cheat is Barn Burner. Every 3 turns, Flint will go all out, lighting everyone in battle ablaze, including cogs and himself. It does 25 damage, adding 1 damage for every cog in the fight. This can get scary with Pyromaniac stacks. Make sure everyone's healthy and ready to tank this when it's about to happen, otherwise have a tune-up unite ready. For a fun fact, he can die to Barn Burner. Unfortunately, I don't have footage of it, but he effectively just burns away into ash like the rest of the cogs. He is one of the only managers in the game to have 3 drops, which are 2 cosmetics and a sticker. His helmet is awesome, being one of the few animated cosmetics in the entire game, constantly having a fire on your helmet. The other cosmetic, the Firestoker, is Backpack. It's fine. No real opinions on it. Finally, we have a sticker, which reads to me as him blushing. It's really cute. My favorite title given to a manager in the 1.3 trailer, it's the Wretched Wood Splitter Spruce Campbell the Treekiller. Quite a simple fight for this late in the game, and frankly bordering on underpowered. Spruce only has two cheats, which are called Peel the Bark and Wood Chipped. Peel the Bark is the significantly more important one. It happens on odd-numbered turns, starting with the very first. This causes all cogs, except for Spruce himself, and Toons to get hit by a 7 damage log of wood, which applies Peeled to Toons. Peeled makes Toons take 75% more damage for one turn. As you can imagine, this can be quite deadly. On turns he uses Peel the Bark, if he's not already alone, be sure to get rid of the other cogs with Sound or Zap. If he is alone, lay into him with as much damage as you can. His second cheat is Wood Chipped, which is a 12 damage over time effect that lasts 2 turns. As it happens on every even number turn, one of these 2 turns will turn it into 21 damage because of Peel the Bark. Worth noting that this lasts even after Spruce is defeated, meaning you can die to it after he's gone. And trust me, you don't want that to happen, it sucks. The fight is effectively a 2-turn strategy on repeat. On turns he uses Peel the Bark, Sound or Zap to get rid of the extra cogs and tune up as needed, while on turns he uses Wood Chipped, you just want to lay into him with as much damage as possible. Prestige Throw does go a long way in this fight, and I recommend it. And as for his drops, we have the comically ugly Stump Hat and his sticker. Aw, he's so happy. And on to our final street manager, it's the drowsy dreamer himself, Tawny C. Esta the Featherbedder. Ain't she just a sweet little bird? Right off the bat, it's worth noting Tawny is the only street manager who has more rounds of lure resistance than one, allowing them to be lured for 2 turns. This can be extremely useful for preventing damage, as Featherbedder hits pretty hard. Tawny has a whopping 5 cheats, although one of them is tied directly to another, and one of them you should never see in normal gameplay. The most persistently prevalent one throughout the entire fight is Overhire. Overhire makes Tawny take less damage and deal more damage depending on how many other cogs are in this fight. Here are the values for that, worth noting that it's very rarely worth attacking Tawny directly unless they're alone or only have one other cog with them. The other prevalent one is Power Nap. Upon joining the battle, any cogs other than Featherbedder will be affected by Power Nap, which lasts 2 turns. On the first turn they enter the fight, they take 80% less damage and deal 70% less damage, and on the second turn they're in the fight, they take 60% damage and deal 50% damage. When the Power Nap is up, they are overcharged for triple their maximum HP. It is a very good idea to lure and soak napping cogs on the first turn they enter the fight, then zap them to death when they're 1 turn from waking up. This fight should not be gone into without at least 3 zap, unless everyone's willing to burn through pink slips like a champ. You should not use sound in this fight for a reason I will explain in a little bit. Attached to Power Nap is Well Rested. If Toons defeat a napping cog, all of them gain +3 damage for the rest of the entire fight, stacking indefinitely. This makes the times you're able to hit Featherbedder extra worthwhile and ensures that you won't get in a stalemate. You will inevitably win as long as you keep playing properly. The 4th cheat is Peaceful Slumber. If Tawny is alone for more than 1 turn, they will gain 25% damage resistance per turn they are alone, stacking up to 100%. If another cog joins the fight and is alive at the end of the turn, she will lose Peaceful Slumber stacks at the rate of 25% per turn. This is just to prevent the previously common cheese strat of blocking off both sides of the road from the actual battle with alts so cogs can't join the Featherbedder fight. Last but certainly not least is Insomnia, the reason I highly recommend against sound. For every napping cog hit by sound in a turn, Tawny will retaliate once. So if 2 napping cogs are hit with sound, Tawny will attack once normally and then twice with insomnia. This happens even if the napping cogs die, so only use sound as a last resort if Tawny is at really low HP. And finally, as for their drops, we have the Feather Unibrow, which makes any kiwi or duck look pretty funny, and their sticker, which is just them having a little nap. So adorable. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you learned something useful from it. I will be making an individual guide on every Kudos Manager boss after this one, although they probably won't be released in order of progression. If you have any further questions about these bosses, feel free to ask in the comments. I will answer them to the best of my ability. Special thanks goes out to Stern R. Scruff, Pixel, Lefty Lemonzilla, and Ember Pyre for helping me get footage for this video. Peace out.